When it started.
It's just starting there now, Carol.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so we're just back to a couple of more functions on this spreadsheet, and it's just how to add a bar chart or a pie chart, because they look very impressive and they're actually very straightforward to know how to do. Okay, so if I want to make a bar chart, for example, to show what I have spent in April, a chart always needs something along the X and the Y axis. So you have to include headings. So the headings that it's going to pick up from this little selection here are the month, the name of the month, and then these here. If you just highlight numbers, it's not going to make sense to them. So your first thing is you always must highlight enough information to tell your chart what's along the bottom and what's along the top. Okay, so I'm just going to start simply with just what the April figures are. I'm not putting the total in there because for a graph you want to show each of these. The total is a figure that's going to kind of skew it all. So you generally, I wouldn't show total figures as well as the breakdown. So I'm just highlighting these figures, and now I'm moving up from my home sheet up to the insert tab at the very top. Okay, and kind of in the middle of that little ribbon, there is a little set of pictures. So you can do a pie chart, you can do a bar chart, you can do all sorts of different things here. Okay, so the great thing about Excel is you can kind of mess around with it. So I'm just hovering my mouse. I haven't selected anything. So as I hover my mouse, it gives me a preview of the options that I'm going to look at. So that's my pie options. Okay. If I go up to my bar chart and I hover, it shows me, okay, which one suits best? What am I trying to do? Which one looks the best? So that's the great thing about kind of Excel. It can show you all sorts of different charts, and it'll also recommend ones for the type of data that you need. Okay, so I think the pie is nice. Okay, so what I'm going to show you on the pie, you can do the exact same on the bar chart. Okay, so every graph, when you select it, it goes in like a clip art. So it's the very same as a clip art here. Okay, and you can when you right click on it, again, you have loads of options. Okay, so you must right click on the chart. So you can move the chart. You can change the chart type. If you still don't like it and you want to go back to bar, you can mess around with it. And if you right click on the little pie itself, you can add data labels. That's a very common thing. Okay, so when you add data labels, it adds the figures onto the pie. Okay. Again, for those creative ones, you can go up here and there's all sorts of different visual things that you want to show. So the options are endless. Okay. Again, keep it simple. Okay. If you want, your data should be the thing showing. So you can, it's added in percentages there. Again, I don't know what I've actually clicked on there. It's giving me too much information. So I'm going to go back to just the plain and simple one that I wanted back here. Okay. So I've gone overboard now. Just let me undo a bit. Go back to basics. Okay. So it's added in labels and percentages there. Sorry now for all that clicking. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to delete that and start again. Okay, so which is the beauty of it. So I'm just going to highlight that, pick another chart, go up to insert, and pick another pie chart. Click on the option you want and click OK. So the little color code is down here. But again, bear in mind if you're a black and white printer, it's not going to show up. So maybe a bar chart is better because you can actually, you don't need color to do the lines on that. Okay, so if I go into bar and I pick that one, okay, it shows you a visual. Okay, so you can see the meals is way out ahead there and you can change the colors. So the great thing about charts is that's a clip art now. So I can right click on it, copy it and bring it into a Word document. So very often what you want to do is you want to do your data in Excel, but you want to put it into some sort of report, some sort of high level report. So this is what we spent in April. This is what we spent in May. These were our KPIs, blah, blah, blah. So that's the beauty of the chart function. You can just copy that, open it and pop it into a Word document. Okay. So that's charts. Again, whistle stop tour, but it's just, they are very handy to know how to do. I'm going to show you basic sorting now as well, okay? So sorting is very important in Excel, and I'm just going to go over to, so I'm in Mary Cunningham sheet and I'm in the April column, okay? So you have to tell Excel what you want to sort, okay? So if you wanted to sort these headings in alphabetical order, you click into one of these headings. If you want to sort the data in numerical order, you have to click into the data, okay? If your mouse is clicked out here, there's nothing for it to sort. So that's the big thing. Always click, you have to tell Excel what you want to do. You have to give it some hints, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into my total figures, and I want to see, okay, what's the biggest spend. So I want to sort these highest to lowest, okay? So the sort button is just at the very end of the ribbon, so the ribbon that we went through today. So when I click on A to Z sort, it says, do you want to sort the smallest to the largest or the largest to the smallest? Okay. Now I want you to watch the screen as I click these buttons. So what will happen? Okay, so our biggest is 1159. So when I click this, watch all the other figures. Okay, they've all rearranged. Okay, it's brought the total ones up. I don't know why the zeros have gone in there. Okay, let's undo that for a second. Okay, so I'm just going to take these out for a second. Okay, so I'm just going to sort that again. Click in your column and sort the largest to the smallest. Okay, so the totals were throwing it out there. Okay, I'm going to click undo again. So what it does when you click in a column, it will automatically, which you wanted to do, sort everything else, because there's no point in sorting the total columns and not sorting everything else accordingly, or else your figures are wrong. Okay, but if you have any blank columns in between what you're doing, it'll only sort this column because it thinks this information is different and disconnected. So be very, very careful. When you're setting up information and you're sorting or you're adding or you're filtering, there should be no blank, there should be no gaps. There should be no rows, blank rows, and there should be no blank columns in between it. Your data should be all side by side in the correct format. Okay, so very often, and I have been on the bad end of sorting things and then realizing it hasn't sorted everywhere, which is a disaster because your data is not accurate, because there might be a little column hidden somewhere. Okay, so there could be a column like that that's shrunk that you don't realize is there. And when you go to sort this, okay, so sort smallest to largest, it sorts the June and the total column, but has left this all wrong. Okay, so that's what you don't want. You want to be able to trust the data, and you don't want to be sending inaccurate information. Really, really important. And what I would always say, if you're sorting information, and particularly numerical information, when you click on it, I would go up, click in the middle of the data, go to data, and go into the sort option here. Okay, and I'll show you why. Because what it does, it highlights your data and it asks, what do you want to sort by? Do you want to sort by April, or do you want to sort by values? Okay, and my data has headers. Okay, so it's sorting all the stuff information there. So very often I would use that and ask it to sort A to Z, or if you're unsure, okay, to mess around it. But for simple stuff, you can use your A to Z back in your here. Okay, it depends on what you're using it for. So that's the very basics of sorting. I'm going to show you a bigger spreadsheet that'll make it'll be more visible now in a second. Okay, so I'm just going to close this sheet now for a second, and I'm just going to share another one. So I'm going to move on to the other spreadsheet that I sent you, and it was called lists demo, I think. Okay, so I'll just give you a minute if you want to open up that with me. Okay. Okay. And what you should see is two worksheets in this. So you'll see the stock market data, which is the big one with the navy kind of headings, and a Hobbits list, which is a list of names and dates of births and dates of things. Okay, so again, hopefully everybody's with me and has opened that spreadsheet. So when I look at the stock market data, I'm going to show, I think Aoife, you asked the question. So say there's thousands of columns in this, as the rate, well, there's quite a lot anyway, okay? I can't see the headings anymore, so I'm not sure what I'm looking at, okay? So what we want to do is we want to freeze these headings, okay? So that no matter what, we can always see them, okay? So what we do is we just click into one of the headings, okay? And there's a couple of options ways around this, okay? So I'm just going to go in here now, okay? So you can go into the view menu, so it's the kind of last menu at the top, okay, and look for the option freeze panes, okay. So the easiest one, the most common one, is freeze the top row, okay. So you're in the view menu, you go to freeze panes and freeze the top row, and you can see now as I scroll down, it holds that top row there, okay. So that's really, really important, okay. Sometimes, okay, I'm just going to mess around here. Sometimes you might want to freeze this column as well, okay? So I'm going to unfreeze the panes, okay? And what I want to do, this is a little bit tricky, but pretend there's headings here. So if I just type in April, okay, and I use my copy little tool, that'll copy down the months of the year. So say, for example, I wanted to freeze these as well. So I'm just going to make these navy, just so you can see what I'm trying to do. So sometimes you want to freeze at the top row and the side row. Okay, so what you do is you click into the cell. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight this cell in green just so you can see what I'm talking about. So you have to click in the cell that's above, the row above it, and the row to the left of it you want to freeze from. Okay, so there's no point clicking here. So I'm going to, I highlight Goldman Sachs here. There's no point freezing the panes from here. You want to freeze where the top heading start and the left heading starts. So you click there. Again, mess around with this at your own pace. So you go to view and you go to freeze panes as well. Okay, and when you click the first option, okay, what that will do, it will click it'll freeze what's above where you've clicked and to the left of it. Okay, so when I scroll down, you'll see that. And when I scroll across, hopefully, it'll freeze the April and the May as well. So that's very, very common. So all I did there was I clicked where you wanted to start freezing, above and to the left. I went to the view menu and I went to the very top option, freeze panes. Okay, if you just want to do the top row, you freeze the top row and that'll work for you. Okay. Okay, so that's, hopefully that answers your question, Aoife. That's really, really good thing to know how to do. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to show you here is filtering, and a lot of you had said you wanted to know more about filtering. Okay, so filtering is brilliant in Excel, and what it's doing, it's filtering the look of your data. Okay, it's not changing your data, it's just showing you different versions of your data. Okay, and it's really, really helpful in Excel. So you think when you put on a filter on social media, it makes you look better. So what you're trying to do here is you're just trying to show certain parts of your data by filtering. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this column here just in case it messes it up. Okay. Now, I want you to look at this spreadsheet. So this is an example of a good spreadsheet. Okay, why is it good? The dates are in the correct format. There's only dates in date columns. There's kind of keywords in, did it fail? Was it good or failed? The locations are spelt the same. The company names are spelt the same. They have, you know, numbers, they have market size. That's good, a good spreadsheet. That's how your spreadsheets should look if you're using them, okay? There shouldn't be text in columns. It should be kind of uniform. And again, it's hard to get it in that, especially if you're sharing a spreadsheets, but that's how you should design a good spreadsheet. If the data in spreadsheets is good, your filters are really helpful, okay? So I'm going to go into the stock market data sheet, and I'm going to turn on my filters. So my filters are over where the sorting was. So when I drop down my A to Z and I click on filter, what you'll notice is these little drop down buttons have appeared. And so that means you can filter by anything now in your spreadsheet. Okay, so you may work only in the UK. So what you might want to do is, I only want to see information that's about the United Kingdom. Okay, so you can click off all the companies, but a much handier way is, if you only want one company, is unclick everything and just highlight United Kingdom. And that saves you clicking. If you have a big, huge list, you don't want to be clicking them all off. Okay, so if you want to just filter United Kingdom, you click on that and it just shows the United Kingdom. Okay, so you're just getting a look at this information. Really, really important is that a little funnel appears on the location header here. And that's how you know your filter is on. Again, I have suffered from leaving on filters and forgetting to turn them off. So it's really, and it'll happen to you as well. But how do you know your filter's off? Okay, you've no filters across the top. And if you want to be doubly sure, I always just turn them off. And that'll automatically pull back all your data the way it was. Okay, so your filters really should only be temporary. You're filtering for a purpose. So if you want to pull out all the information about the United Kingdom, you turn off everything, click on your United Kingdom, and then what you might do is you might copy that out into a separate spreadsheet and save it as UK, and then you turn off your filters. That's the use of filters. Okay, if you want to find all the companies that are JP Morgan in the UK, you go to the next filter, company name, you turn it off, and then you just switch on JP Morgan. So now you're getting to see your data. And then what you might want to do is you might want to add up the stock value, cash value of all their stock. Okay, so you click at the end of that, you go to your auto sum, you hit return. Okay, so that's given me information that I might want to copy, put into a Word document. I might want to do a graph on that. And then I just turn off the filters, so just remove them. So if you take them all off, it all pops back up again. Okay. So your filters are short-term little things that you use to show information. You can filter by, if I put them back on again, everybody who settled a case, yes, no. So if I take off, it shows up all the yeses. Okay, put them back on. If you want to show dates. So dates is something you mightn't have used filters for. Okay, so if you want to show everything that showed up in just January and February of 2020. So it's very good on dates and filtering dates and different ranges of dates and years of dates. So you mightn't have used that before. Okay, again, when I select all, it brings everything back. Okay, you might want to share, filter. Okay, so everything that's greater than, let me see, is greater than 15,000. So you can set in values and it filters out. So lots of stuff is greater than 15,000 there. Okay, and again, to remove it, I just press it back on. So filters are really brilliant, but they are short term. Okay, and don't forget to turn them off again. So just go back up to your filter and turn it off. So that's what filters are for. Okay. The other thing that I want to show you, okay, so I'm kind of nearly at the end of it. So I'm going to show you how you add different sheets together. And Sinead, I'm going to show you how you can copy content from one sheet to another as well. Okay, so I'm going to go into I'm actually just going to go printing. Sorry, well, I'm going to go here. I'm going to show the important things of printing because this sheet has a lot of data. Okay. Common mistakes with printing. We've all suffered. Okay, so when you print the sheet, if you look down at your pages now, this is showing up 21 pages of print. Okay, so a couple of things are wrong. Not wrong, but common. Okay, so the data is not set up properly to print. Okay, in the main, we are going to be printing on A4 pages. So when you go to the file print option, if you want to do it now, most of what you need to do is contained here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change the orientation first of all to landscape. Okay, and so at least it's looking a bit better. I can see my headings now across the page. Okay. Now, but at the very bottom, and I didn't discover this till late in life, is there's an option at the bottom that can scale it for you. Okay. So the common one is fit everything on one sheet. Okay. Now, when I click on this, look what you get. Tiny, no one can read that. So that's no use to us here. But if you have a small amount of data, often that can be enough. So just choose the option to fit on one sheet. What I'm going to use for this one is to fit all columns on one page. Okay, so at least I know my headings are all across the one page. Okay, if you have 70 headings, that's not going to look good on an A4 page. Okay, so you might want to consider using maybe not printing it, because maybe it's not, if it's too much data, you'd have to question what's the value of printing out that data. Okay, but generally, if you fit all the columns on one page, at least it replicates the same information on each page. Okay, so they're very, very common ones. Fit all rows on each page. This will put everything again, and that's not your option. So mess around with them and see which one you want to do. But for this one, the columns on one page is really good. Okay. You can limit the number of pages. If you only want to print one page, you press 1 to 1. You know what I mean? Okay, so by changing that, my pages down at the bottom, I've gone from 21 to 7. That's still a lot of pages. Okay. So you can print on both sides of the page. Again, if you're reading from Excel, that's not great. Okay, because you're flipping over. So I would go with the one-sided generally if you want to draw attention to detail. And then your number of copies, as you know, is 1 or 2, depending on what you want. So very, very common things that you might want to know about as well. You can have the option to print the entire workbook, which is all the sheets. So I have 4 tabs to print all of them. Print the active sheet is the standard, which is the one I have in front of me here. And print selection. So print selection, I'm just going to go out of that here. If I just want to highlight a bit and print it, I go to File, Print, and if I use print selection, it will only print the area that I've highlighted. Sometimes that's very, very handy. Okay. Again, when I'm still in the file print option, down at the very bottom is the page setup. So again, I kind of do everything from here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go into so you can do your portrait or landscape from here. Okay. You can make your margins narrower if you want. If you want to fit more information on the page, you can squeeze them down manually. But what's really, really handy, and I'd say some of you want to ask the question, is how do I keep this row on the top for printing so that you can see that every time? So it's in this option. You're in your page setup, you're in the sheet tab, and what you do if you have to click on the rows to repeat at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do that. It's not letting me do that for some reason here. Okay, so I'm going to just show you how to physically do that from the spreadsheet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go into page layout. So up here, it's the kind of same information as what I showed before. Okay, and what we're going to do is it's called print tiles. Okay, so when I click on that, what I want to do is I want these rows to repeat at the top. So I click on the little blue and red button at the end, and you have to click on the row that you want to repeat at the top. Okay, so it highlights in green, and then you press the little red button again, and it shows up that row. Okay, and then you click OK. All right, so now when I go into my file and print preview, oops, that didn't work. I'll go on. I must have a selection printed. Yeah. Okay. What I should see across each page is those headings. Okay. So that's really important to know how to do. So I'll go back over that again. So page layout, print tiles, repeat the top row. You click on the little red button. You highlight the top row. You press the little button again and then click OK. All right. The other thing that you might want to do while you're in here is to go into add a page number. Okay, so you go into your header and footer sheet, and I'm going to put it in the center section, and I'm going to click on this little button, which is inserts page number. Okay. If you're printing more than one Excel sheet, I'd suggest you always put in page numbers. Okay. Okay. So that's printing. So you can see now the preview. I have my 7 sheets, but at least they're in some sort of order. Everything's contained on one sheet. And I'm just going to see if I can add the grid lines from here as well. So if I go into sheet and click grid lines, it'll print a little grid line to make it easy for your reader as well. Okay, so file, print, page setup, you can do a lot of those options there. Okay, so just don't be afraid to go in, have a look. At least from this training now you'll know what's there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep going on. I'll take questions at the end because I just want to finish off the 2 bits that I wanted to show. So I'm just going to stop sharing the list sheet and I'm going to go back into my overview sheet. Just give me a second. I think I closed it. Okay, so I'll just give this a minute to share. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how, if you wanted to summarize the information for John, Mary and Pádraig, okay, if you wanted to add up those informations in those sheets. Okay, so the key, if you want to do this, is John, Mary and Pádraig sheets, as I said, must be in the identical place on each sheet. Okay, because Excel works in cells. So they must be the exact same headings. They must be exact same. The figures will be different, but the headings and the format must be identical. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the summary sheet. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the April travel figure, which is B3. Okay. Or sorry, B4. Okay. So it tells me it's B4 here. And again, I'm going to do this a couple of times just to show you because it's a little bit, it's not tricky. It's just kind of you're moving between sheets. Okay, so I'm going to click on the B4 sheet and I'm going to start with an equal sign. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go into my John Brown sheet and I'm going to go into the B4 there. Okay, so up at the top, equals and John Brown B4 has come up. And now I'm going to hit the plus sign, so the shift on my keyboard, and I go into Mary Cunningham sheet and I click in her B4 cell. Then I hit the plus sign again and I go into Pádraig Doherty's and I hit his B4 sheet. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the same cell for each of the people and that's my formula. What's John Brown B4, Mary Cunningham, and Pádraig Doherty? And then I hit return and what it has done, it has added the data in that cell for those 3 people. Okay. The beauty of it is if John Brown's data is wrong and he goes up to 300, oops, right, wrong cell. If his value there goes to 300, the summary sheet value automatically increases as well. Okay. And the beauty of Excel is I can copy that formula down. So it's adding all their hotels, meals and stuff for April. And I can also copy it across. Okay. And I can do them all actually like that. So every month, if I'm adding in different data, it will, so I'm going to add in a big figure just so you can see how it updates in the cell. So there's the 8,000 that's gone up. Okay, so it only works if the cells are set up identically. Okay, and I'm just going to start again just to show you one more time. Okay, so you click in the summary sheet, you press your equals formula to let it know a formula is coming. You click on the John Brown or the sheet and the first cell you want to add. You hit your plus sign and then you click on your second sheet and add the same cell. Click on your plus sign again, your third sheet and your same cell. You hit return and that's it. When you have that done, you can copy it across for May and June and you can copy it down for those and you can copy it down. It does all the work for you from then on. Again, if that's something you want to set up separately, we can work with you on that because it is, you just want to make sure it's right and correct. Okay, So that's subtotaling between sheets, and it's brilliant if you're doing KPIs or if you're doing anything that you want to count information. It's really handy. Okay, so I'm just going to go to Sinead's question now about how do you get one sheet to populate into another. Okay, so I'm just going to call this sheet a copy. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move this to the end. Okay, so I am going to let me just going to type in names here. Okay. I'm going to go into my copy sheet and I'm going to type in names here. So it's just trying to demonstrate how this works. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to tell Excel whenever a name goes into this cell, I want it to copy over into this cell. Okay. So I'm just going to color code these just so you can see. Okay. So I'm going to color code these blue. Okay. Okay, so it's quite straightforward in one way. So what you do is you're going to say whatever I type in here. Sorry, in the wrong one. So you go to your destination sheet if you like. So whatever I type in here, okay, I want it to equal this cell. Okay, so up at the top here, it says equals Pádraig Doherty F4. Okay, when I hit return, 0 comes up here. Okay, because there's nothing in it. Okay. And when I go into Pádraig Doherty cell and I type in Carol, okay, what should happen is it automatically copies into there. So you can do it for numbers, you can do it for anything. So the key is, okay, I'm just going to take that out again. So if I say equals that and I highlight all those cells, sorry, if I highlight one cell, sorry, apologies. Okay, that's a formula now. It's telling it to pull in that form. And if I drag that down, okay, if I type in Anya and I type in Olivia, should automatically copy in. So you're just telling it, you're telling your destination cell, whenever something's entered in this sheet, pull it over into this one. So Sinead, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but that's how you do it in nuts and bolts. So I don't know whether that is what you need to do or whether you need to do something else. She could be on a call. Okay, so there's lots and lots you can do with Excel. I'm just going to go through my notes and make sure I've covered everything. So we've done filters, we've done sorting, we've done printing, we have done worksheets, we've done charts, we know how to add across sheets, and we've done basic formulas. Okay, I am going to ask Olivia just to stop recording there for a second and we'll go on to the Q&A session. That stopped.